Hey, what's going on, Scatterbrains? Thank you for coming back to another episode of Scatterbrilliancy. My name is Travis, and I'm here to do a review for 90 Day Fiance Season 6, Episode 2. I don't know what the name of this episode is, and quite frankly, I don't care. So, we're going to try to make this as quick as possible. 2 hours. I'm still trying to adjust. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this whole season because Sunday nights, it's a lot. So we're going to try to press forward. All right, so let's start with Ashay. She's headed to Jamaica to support him during his interview for the K-1 visa. She says he has a lot of big plans for her. He says he has a lot of big plans for her, if y'all know what I mean. And I'm assuming he's talking about himself. He did a lot of talking about himself. Jay did, as far as this episode was concerned. He talked about stereotypes of Jamaican men. He talked about how beautiful he was, how heavy his sack is, and she feels pressure to keep him satisfied because of the weight of his sack. And I don't understand why we needed to know that. Obviously, Jay is extremely full of himself, and I'm only going to be able to take maybe one more episode of all this ego stuff. Like, I need for us to go ahead and move on. We get it. You think you're a very attractive guy. You feel like your below parts are above average. That's great. I don't really care. As long as Ashley is happy, hey, that's all that matters. And clearly she is, because she's stupid enough to marry someone like you. All right, so let's move on to for Nathan. As we remember last week, Fernanda found some drawers in the drawer. And when I watched that scene again, I noticed that drawer didn't seem to have anything in it. That drawer seemed to be empty, as if the crunchy drawers were the only thing in the drawer. So I was just trying to figure out, like, how that happened. And he was talking about how he took the dresser from one place and put it in another place, and you never opened the drawers. Like, that's just, his excuse was terrible. So he asked for forgiveness and asked her not to judge him for having the crunchy drawers in his drawer. Later in the episode, they go meet his friends, and they talk about everything. They try to get to know her. Like, they're in Lumberton, North Carolina. And, they have the typical accent that you think of when you think of people from North Carolina. I don't think I talk like any of them, but hey, maybe to some people in other places of the world, I may be very country. I mean, I've been in Virginia and they say I'm country, so I'm just like, okay. And she said that it's hard for her to understand them because of their accent, and I'm just like, girl, do you not realize that 85% of the country is struggling? Have you not realized that you have subtitles every time you talk? Every time you talk, you have subtitles. So you really should be talking about it being hard to understand anybody with an accent. But, what else? They talk about age in relation to him. I wasn't really paying attention a whole lot to this episode. So, hey, if I'm leaving something out, make sure you leave it down in the comments. And I have something to say, but I'll say at the end of the review. Let's move on to Consuela. She goes to the airport because Asuelo was going to be arriving to America. Y'all told me down in the comments that he is not from Hawaii. He is from Samoa. Someone in the comments said that it's an island near Fiji and Australia, where Polynesian people are. So when you say Polynesian, all I think about is Moana. And he arrives and he does a chant in the airport. So he was like spitting and screaming all over the place. He made noises like kind of when you go to the beach in like July and you take off your flip-flops because you're on your way to the water and the sand is really, really hot. And the noises that you make when you're on your way to the water, that's the noises that he was making in the airport. And he was doing a lot of like, So I was just thinking to myself, like, gosh, like he's really doing a lot in this airport. And what's her name? Kaylani, I think that's her name. She was not impressed at all with his jig that he was doing in the airport. But you want to know who was impressed? Some airport agent who was disrespectful enough to say, hey, if it doesn't work out with her, give me a call. Like, ma'am, know your role, know your place, get back to your job and mind your business. Like, that ain't the move. That is not the move for you to be doing tonight. So she's been living with her sister, Bellini, and they decided that they're going to get, I know that's not her name. I don't need y'all to correct me. She decided to get an Airbnb for Consuela, for the couple Consuela. She decided to get an Airbnb. And it's a big Airbnb. So, you know, hey, you know, shouts out to her. But he's just fascinated by okay, you know what? I don't want to sound offensive when I say this, but, and I know it's mostly a culture thing, but to me, Osuelo seems like he's on the spectrum. And if you don't know what that means by being on the spectrum, go look it up. He seemed a little high functioning, just a little high functioning. And like I said, I know it's probably a culture thing, but he just seems like he might be touched, and it might not necessarily be by an angel. Like the elevator doesn't go up to the top floor, like it barely even is in service. You know, like a few fries short of a Happy Meal kind of situation. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is just my observation of how he acts. You know, culture outside of language, I just don't think you would, I don't know. He said he lived in a place that ain't had no walls. All they had was a rock floor. So he's just, you know, he is blown away and fascinated by all of this stuff. But I was still looking at him like, you might be a little high functioning. I'm not going to say the word because I don't want to offend anybody, because, you know, some of y'all get real sensitive. All right, moving on to Lyric. Eric has 3 daughters, as I stated last week, and Leda is 8 years older than his oldest daughter. That's just to put some things into perspective. In Indonesia, she's a model and an actress, and I was looking at her like, standards aren't high in Indonesia, are they? You know, I understand beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm not holding anything, okay? My hand is empty. It is bare. I don't see it at all. I don't really see it for any of these people when they jump on these shows and they go grab somebody from another country, and I'm just like, that's all the country had to offer. People probably look at us like that too, you know. Hey, people I think I'm ugly, and I'm okay with that, but you know, hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I behold nothing. All right, so back to what I was saying. She is concerned about what her sister is going to think about him and living in America and all of that. It just still doesn't make any sense to me why you live this privileged life in Indonesia and you want to come to America with these below average standards that you're just not used to. Somebody make it make sense. When she's described something she said in one of her little confessionals, she talked about him and his physical appearance, and it's not to say that I don't know who she was describing, but she described him as ruggedly, and I was like, is she speaking like Scooby-Doo talk? Like what is ruggedly? And I guess ruggedly is like handsome, but all I heard was like, rrr, rrr, rrr. Like that's what I heard, but you know, hey, I wasn't paying attention. All right, so I don't know if I said it last week, but she has a son. He's 5 years old. I thought his name was Alexandro. His name is Alessandro. Yeah. Her sister thinks that Alessandro should be in Indonesia. But, you know, hey, he's going to come to America and they're going to see how it works out. But her parents will be in town very soon. Eric decides that they're not going to stay in New York because that's what she flew into, but they're going to stay in Pennsylvania. And Leda is upset that she's not staying in New York because she has, I guess, these dreams of what being in America would be like. And I think a lot of people think about New York and tall buildings and bright lights when they think of America. So I guess that's the experience that she wants. And her sister, for some reason, was very interested in seeing the Trump Tower. And I was like, okay. The next morning, he cooks breakfast, a very, you know, average American breakfast, but I don't really think it was up to her standards because she believed that they should get a live-in maid. And I'm just still thinking like, yo, like, why are you here? Why are you here? Like, if that's what you want, you need to take your tail back over the waters to Indonesia. But anyway, you know, they have 3 months to get to know each other. And the sister is very skeptical on if this is really gonna work for Lyric. So that's all I have for them. Oh, I skipped someone. Who did I skip? Oh, Clarissa, our favorite couple. So Colt is concerned about Larissa. Is that her name? Yeah, I think that's her name. Larissa's expectations of America and what she thinks it'll be like living in America. You know, to refresh our minds about what Colt has going on. Colt is the monotone guy who really just is boring, who's just, he talks like this in the confessionals, and every now and then he does some things like this with his eyebrows and a little slight smile. But he lives with his mom. They share a vehicle, and this has affected his relationships, and he's telling us this like we wouldn't just already know that. Like, there's no guy who lives with his mom and shares a vehicle with his mom who's in a successful relationship. Like, that's just not a thing, not unless it's like a hospice situation, you know, but your mom is well capable of taking care of herself. He refers to his mom as mother as well, and that just, you know, it made me a little uncomfortable. But he picks Larissa up from the airport, and she just wants to know where are her flowers. That is really all Larissa is concerned about. It's like, where are my flowers? Why you ain't buy me no flowers? They pass a vending machine for flowers, and she's like, hey, you didn't get me any flowers. There's some flowers right there. Why don't you get them? He's like, I'm not spending $20 on some flowers. And I'm like, bruh, that's a good deal for some flowers. I mean, you go to Walmart, you can get you a nice little bouquet for $5, but it's like a small bouquet. Or you can get like the $15 bouquets like I do. When I buy my wife flowers from Walmart, I get the best I can, and I just put bouquets together to make a better looking bouquet. So $20 I thought was pretty reasonable for some flowers. But I mean, you would think with Colt living at home with his mama and only having one vehicle that he would have like a nice stash of money somewhere. But, you know, I guess not. Larissa's not happy about being in Vegas. She's talking about how hot it is, and he thinks that she's going to be unhappy and disappointed about everything. And so far she is. You know, Larissa says, you know, I just came from living outside the gates of hell, and now you brought me to right at the front door of Satan's house. Like, I did not think that it was going to be this hot in Vegas. But, you know, hey, they'll make it through. And the final couple that we got introduced to tonight was Steven and Olga. So I don't know what I called them last week, but I'm going with Stolga from now on. They knew each other she was in America for a month and a half. She's from Russia. And during that month and a half when she was here, they were just having fun, and she got pregnant. He said he wasn't used to protection. And it was at that moment I knew he's dumb. I don't understand anyone who knows what sex is, understands what comes from sex, and then still gets surprised like when you get somebody pregnant. Like, it, because I mean, some of y'all cousins out here doing that too, and it makes no sense to me. Like, do we not understand what sex was created for, what its intention? It's not made for pleasure. It's made for creation, like procreation, creating human beings, you know. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But he found out a week before she went back that she was pregnant, and he decided to do the thing that makes the most sense, which is to get married. You know, a lot of people on this show seem to be very present-minded people. They don't think about the future. They're just kind of thinking about that current state that they're in, that current pleasure that they're getting from whomever it is that they're getting it from. And we people just don't think about the consequences of their actions. And I just don't understand how you call yourself an adult, a mature adult at that, and you don't think about the consequences of your actions and how your actions affect the people who you love. So I know he said his dad died when he was 7, but I don't remember what he said about his mom. But he seems to have a decent relationship with his grandparents. They actually are the ones who drive him to the airport, but they say he's immature and he's a mess. So it's like, at least somebody's calling it like it really is. So that is tonight's episode of 90 Day Fiance Season 6, Episode 2. I've been trying to keep them under 15 minutes, and so far I'm doing good. And let me just say this. I know a lot of people asked me to review this show, and I noticed that everybody who watched my last review was a female, which is, you know, interesting. But let me just say this. The moment y'all stop watching these reviews, I'm going to stop making them. Like, I have a bar that I have in my mind that I'm not going to tell you about how many views these reviews need to get before I stop. And the moment that number drops in that time frame, these reviews are going to stop. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out now. So if you really like these reviews, if you like me doing these reviews, I'm going to suggest you share them, because only one person shared that video from last week. It shows me who shares it, where they shared it, and all that kind of stuff. So if you want these reviews to continue, you need to make sure that you're commenting, make sure that you're rating, and make sure that you're sharing, and that you subscribe if you haven't already, because out of the 1,800 or so people who watched the video, only 18 of them are actually subscribed to me. So subscribe to the channel so you get the notifications, so you can keep these reviews going. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about tonight's episode of 90 Day Fiance. And I'll be seeing y'all on Tuesday for the next review for Desperation Island. And I'll be talking to y'all later. Peace.